You go.
Hello, McCall.
Pete, it is so good to see you. We were just saying before we started recording that how nice it was to see each other. So I'm
Yeah.
so glad we got to do this.
So for everybody who doesn't know, McCall has been our resident nutritional expert for 10 years. I mean,
A long, I don't even remember a long time.
she does everything for us from make our nutritional panels, like that kind of stuff, and making sure that there are accurate information, all the way to guiding kind of our principles and process with the food. So today, I wanted to talk to you. I have like so many questions. So we're doing this new thing. It's a new project. So basically, long story short, I started Pete's Real Food Pete's Paleo with Sarah in 2012. I got really into CrossFit, eating perfect paleo, wrote a cookbook, got really thin and fit. But wagon. And decided to start drinking and eating and not exercising, and got very unhealthy. And I've spent the past 5 years kind of fixing that. And in that process, kind of fixing my mental health, as well as kind of addressing the issues that I never addressed when I just, got healthy, but not mentally better. And I wanted to talk to you today about kind of the connection between food and mental health, and kind of there's like you and I were talking about before we were recording, there's like seems to be there's like mixed messaging out there. And then kind of talk about the product that we're going to have for our customers, so that if they want to kind of follow the path to wellness that I've followed, kind of, the ABCs, the 1, 2, 3s of it, we're going to provide for people. So why don't you just start by giving us a little bit of a background about the gut health, wellness, mental health connection?
All right. So from my perspective, gut health is everything. And
Okay.
why it's everything is because it's how we take the fuel that runs the machine that is our body. We take that into our body and we get out of it what we need so that we can run our body. So yes, the quality of the food, the fuel, the type of the fuel that we put in, right, is important. Same as with your car, right? You're not going to put diesel into a gas car. You're not going to put premium fuel, like regular fuel into a premium, into your Porsche. And
Yeah.
that matters. But if the whole system from the gas tank to the engine isn't working properly, your car's not running very well. It doesn't matter what you're putting into it. And that's the gut. And the gut is long, and the digestive system is long. People think of it just as the stomach or just as the intestines. It starts in the mouth and it ends in the butt. And everything that goes on in between is important for how your body is going to receive the fuel that you are giving it. So what is your brain? Your brain is your most energy intensive organ. 60% of the calories, the energy that you intake every single day, is used for your brain function. So what you're doing on the treadmill or what you're doing on the stationary bike or at your CrossFit class is great, but it's not burning the calories that your brain burns every single day. So having a functioning gut is important to fuel the brain. Now, we know that the brain is the thing that governs everything. So the reason I can talk with my hands is because my brain is telling me to do that. So for the most part, for most systems in our body, it's a one-way street, right? I want to move my hand, the brain tells me to move my hand. However, with the gut, that's actually a dual-way highway that goes. So this is a second layer. So what happens is the brain tells the gut what to do, and the gut also tells the brain what to do in many different ways. It's a system called your enteric nervous system. Don't worry, you don't have to remember it. There's no test.
Will there be a test? Yeah.
No, and it's governed by a nerve, one of your 12 main cranial brain nerves, called your vagus nerve, which some people might or might not have heard of. The vagus nerve is very important in many things. Again, no test, don't worry about it. So what we know is, number one, the gut fuels the brain. And number two, the brain obviously tells the gut what to do. So if the brain isn't fueled properly, the gut's not working properly. But at the same time, the gut, and that's the gut itself, and it's the organisms that live in our guts. And most people who are following us nowadays know about your microbiome. They've heard about that, and probiotics. Those are all those bacteria that live in your belly. They talk to your brain as well. So again, if the quality of the fuel going in isn't ideal, the brain isn't running properly, the little bacteria in the gut are telling the brain, well, we're enjoying this fuel and give us more of that. Sugars and things like processed foods tend to do a lot of that, right? The more you have, the more you want. And much of that, there's many processes. Again, the body is so complex that the day we understand it will be, it's not going to happen. But one of the things that happens is our gut bacteria talk to our brain and tell us, feed me, give me more, or certain types of those. So that's a very summarized version of how the brain needs the gut and the gut needs the brain. It's a symbiotic process. They can't function without each other.
Okay, I guess that makes sense, because I mean, it's the fuel system. It's the engine.
Yeah.
Tell me about your thoughts on guys like Dr. Chris Palmer and his, he's been on every podcast in the past 6 months that's in existence, talking about how mental illness is a metabolic illness, and kind of your thoughts on it.
So Dr. Chris Palmer is fantastic, and everybody should go and look him up. Him and another lady who I really absolutely adore, who's been in the space a lot longer. You might have heard me talk about her. Her name is Georgia Ede. And okay. She's a psychiatrist. She used to work at Harvard. She doesn't anymore. And Chris Palmer is a psychiatrist who actually works in the field, so to speak. He works with people who struggle with mental illness, and through diet and lifestyle, he helps them overcome or manage the mental illness in much more effective ways than medications. And he has lots of theories on that. Go follow him, go read his stuff. But basically, when there is a dysfunction in the provision of energy, of fuel to the brain is not going to work optimally. It is going to find ways to work around that. And the body will always prioritize whatever it has to keep the brain functioning, because the brain is the most important. Your brain, your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, your liver are all really prioritized by the body. But the brain is number one. As I said, 60% of your fuel is going to your brain. And that breakdown in fueling of the brain is what, in Dr. Palmer's experience and science, is showing not this path, but it's showing that when we deal with the gut, we have a great success dealing with the brain. And early research was people who struggle with IBS, or people who struggle with depression, or the depressive types of illnesses, often struggle with IBS. Why? Okay. Why? And there's been this link there for many years. Even Chris Kresser, who's been in this paleo-ish space for a probably long one time, of the longest, would speak about stuff like this. And Chris Palmer's research and Chris Palmer's work has gone into this on a much higher and a much deeper level, whereas how we fuel our brain is going to directly impact not just how our body reacts, but how our brain functions. And mental illness, the same way as physical illness is your body not working optimally, mental illness is your brain not working optimally. And that's the foundation of what he does. And he has found with dietary and lifestyle interventions that people can successfully manage many of their mental illness symptoms without the use of medication. And if anybody has ever been on psychiatric medication, it's great. It can be a lifesaver, but it also changes fundamentally who you are and how your brain works. And for many people, that's very challenging. And he's finding that a lot of what he does can obviously you don't have the bad side effects of the medications, and you have a lot of the good effects, if not more than what the medications are giving you. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes total sense. And then what, because for every person on one side, there's someone on the other. What do you say to, there's, speaking of a guy who's been on every podcast the past 6 months, what do you say to somebody like Lane Norton, who is, the bio lane is his hash or whatever his handle, who like everything to him is calorie reduction, right? He said the only reason if someone's talking about gut health and they're trying to sell you something, and calorie reduction is what all of these things that show all of these results have in common, and that people are just, they're eating less, so they're losing weight, so they're feeling better, and it's that simple.
Sure. And there is part of it that's true, because one of the things we know is that fat accumulation, especially fat accumulation around the midsection, actually releases toxic products and toxic chemicals into your body, and into your brain. So and we all know, like you've said it, you're living proof. You've said it yourself. You lost weight, you feel better, you feel lighter, you can do more things, you can run around. Exercise is really, really good for the brain, right? Getting more oxygen into your muscles and into your system helps. Having more muscles helps your brain. All of those things. And yes, calorie reduction makes a difference there, 100% for sure. But how we reduce those calories, or the effectiveness of the calorie reduction, is the nuance. So yes, right, in order to lose weight, you will probably, for the most people, will have to experience calorie reduction. But there are certain foods that allow that to happen with ease, and there are certain foods that make it very, very difficult. And we all know, you can have a big meal, there's always room for dessert, right? It's really difficult to stop yourself eating ice cream or whatever your particular food is. The example I often use is the popcorn at the movies. When I first came to North America, there were these big buckets of popcorn, and I was like, oh my gosh, how do people sit? And you watch people eat and eat and eat and eat and eat, and your belly is distended, you are physically full, but there is nothing stopping you from eating.
Yeah.
And there are certain foods where you will eat them. A steak is a good example, where you'll eat a big steak and you get to a point where it's just like, I'm done, right?
I think that's the thing that's always like really rung true to me is, and what I've seen over, the past year of this like back and forth is like, which is true. And people, it's just like everything in the world today where you feel like you have to pick a side, as opposed to there being like nuance and like things to discover, and like and benefits to the benefits that are obvious that we're ignoring because it doesn't fit into this paradigm that we think. And like for me, like paleo has always been a way to feel sated and good, and eat a decent amount of calories, eat the right amount of calories. When I eat, my treat for myself is an acai bowl. I like love acai bowls, and I live in San Diego, so there's one on every freaking corner that you can go get. And I inevitably feel terrible after I eat that. And is it psychosomatic? Is it because I feel guilty? Or is it because that much sugar at once makes me feel terrible and groggy? I don't know. It doesn't matter. The result is the same. Whereas if I come home after a workout and instead of having an acai bowl, I have like 4 eggs with some, farm raised feta and some onions, I feel amazing. And I have way better energy, and I feel great about myself. And I feel like I didn't waste the work in the gym. And I feel like I put, the right fuel into my body for the that was fair to the work that I did. And, one thing kind of feeds on the other. And then I remember I ate super strict paleo for 18 months. I needed to lose weight. I felt terrible. And also we had started the company, and I felt like I should be a product of the product. I should practice what I preach and do that. So 18 months go by. We are in Atlanta, and I am across the street from the car wash that I worked at when I was a kid, when I was a teenager. Next to that car wash is a Wendy's that I used to eat lunch at every day when I was 18. I was getting my mom's oil change for her. They come out, they're like, it's going to be 3 hours. So I'm starving. I have nothing to eat. And there's that Wendy's that I used to eat at all the time. And I was like, well, screw it. I'm just, I'm going to eat Wendy's and try it out. And nothing against Wendy's. It's any fast food. It's all the same. I remember eating that food and I could just, after going a year and a half without eating something like that, you could taste the sugar in the bun and you could taste how like stale everything was and how it didn't taste like food, and I feel like because we make excuses or aren't consistent, that our palates get so muddled about what's real and what's not and what's good for you and what's not, that we kind of kid ourselves into what's okay for us, especially like I said, if it's like, well, I only ate 1,500 calories today. It just happened to be 3 bowls of cereal. It's like, you're going to feel like, first of all, I'm sure you're going to be hungry. And second of all, I think you're probably going to feel pretty terrible.
Yeah. And yet you will still lose weight.
Exactly. Yeah. The Twinkie diet, right?
Yeah.
The professor that did the Twinkie diet.
Absolutely.
He lost weight, but I mean, like, what was his physical, what it was, how did he feel?
Right. So when you discuss is it the calories or is it it's both, right? And it's both that work together.
Right.
Most people, especially if you're a little older, you remember all the diets of the 80s and the 90s where it was hard because you were starving and all you could, and you were eating so much carbohydrate and so little protein and fat, that everything was dysregulated and you were starving. So losing weight was hard work. Whereas right now, and in the past few years, with the paleo movement, the keto movement, the real food movement getting bigger and better, you're seeing people like literally effortlessly lose weight, and not just just feel as you feel fantastic in the process. So does it matter if your calories are reduced or not? Big picture, no, because it's an easy process. And as an animal, and humans are an animal, we shouldn't need to count our calories and work everything out. If we're eating a species appropriate diet, if we're eating food that our body knows how to use, we will learn to naturally control ourselves. There are no fat animals in the wild. They would die and get eaten and killed in 5 seconds, right?
But so it's like, remember that I'm sure you've seen it, that excerpt from like the Cosmo magazine or something from the 60s where it was like how to lose 20 pounds in 30 days or 2 months, whatever it was. And it's like basically the whole diet was like 4 glasses of white wine, 2 cigarettes, and a 6-ounce piece of fish.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that's great. So
that's going to work.
That you're so drunk so that you don't realize that you're starving. What happens to you? What happens to your insides after that? What happens to your brain after that when your brain doesn't have? I mean, I would like to think of myself as a nice sports car. I'm sure you'd like to think, I don't want to be a jalopy down the street. So premium fuel, thank you very much, to make
That's
sure.
what I always tell people when we're in the gym and they ask me about the meals, that we've been doing, and they're like, well, does it make a difference? And I'm like, bro, you don't put, regular in a Ferrari. Like, there's a reason.
Absolutely.
So I think it's about, fuel is fuel, calories are calories, but the quality of the calories matter.
And that's the nuance. And that's what's so amazing about what you and Sarah have created, and what I get, like, why I really enjoy working, besides the fact that you guys are awesome people, but why I enjoy working with you so much is because you do walk that talk. You truly do believe that the product that you want to provide, a product that enhances people's lives, not just a product that makes people's lives easier. Because yes, it makes people's lives easier, but it also makes people's lives better.
Right. And I think the thing that I've always stood by is there's no silver bullet, and what I want to stress the most during this process, and with these videos that we're doing, and the food and everything, is that this is going to be hard, right? Like, listen, I was fat and drunk, and now I'm fit and sober. Both are very hard. It's hard being, no one likes you, and you're sad and you're slow, and that's really hard. And getting up every day and going to the gym at either 5 in the morning or 5 in the afternoon, or whenever I can get it into my schedule, and eating right and being disciplined, and living that life is hard too. So you have to pick what hard you want to live, because none of it's easy.
And what's important to you, right? You have
Right.
little kids. I've brought a child up, right? I want to be there for them. I want to be able to
Right.
run around with whatever somebody else's why is, and we can have many of them, but there's a reason to feel good. Like, we're blessed with one life and one body, and I don't want to waste it. I mean, some days it's nice to sit on the couch.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you got to have balance, but
Waste the whole life feeling like crap.
yeah, personally, like, my why now is, like, I'm trying to live the great grandfather life. Like, I just want to see as much as I can see of, my family grow, and yeah. And so I wasted a good amount of time, not living my life properly. And so that, really drives me. But, okay. So all that makes sense. So let's talk about the first week or two of the program, and why you set it up the way that you said it, and why you said, Pete, I need you to make this food with in it and these spices, and then this is going to help everybody that does this get off on the right start.
Okay, wonderful. So there's going to be lots of blogs and lots of written information about all of this in great detail. But basically what we wanted was, you have a choice. You can start with a really rip the Band-Aid off, something really hard, a bone broth fast that's supported with you guys' amazing bone broth, full of nutrients. So your body's still going to get the nutrients that it needs. Just give your digestive system time to get rid of everything, allow your detoxification pathways in your body, your liver, your kidneys, your skin, to just work through everything in a safe and supportive and nutrient dense way. And for 3 days, right? We've added herbs and spices and products that we know enhance these processes. So it really helps to, in a way, begin to reset that fuel system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we add in some meals
Mm-hmm.
with things that are nice and easy for the body to digest, and full of nutrients at the same time, that you're now clearer gut. Think of it like wiping a dirty window. Clearer gut can actually absorb more. And
Okay.
we start to eat those, and then we incorporate some of the lifestyle stuff that you've touched on lightly, and then we start to incorporate real life, because again, nothing happens in a vacuum, and we want to do a little reset. Doing a little reset is good. Restarting your computer sometimes really helps, right?
Yeah.
This is what this is, with things that we know support the systems that encourage the body to work. So it's not a magic pill or a magic bullet or a silver bullet that's just going to fix everything all of a sudden. But what it's doing is it's setting your body up so that your body can do what it's meant to do in the first week, in the second week, in the fifth week, and in the fifth month, if you choose to still continue with the program. And we teach you how to live a life, how to have a treat, right?
Yeah.
Like how treats are appropriate, but first nourishment. So we start with very little and just letting things reset a little bit, really supporting those systems to remove, just get rid of all the stuff that's been bugging us down. Start to add in nutrients again to support the stuff, to remove the stuff that bogs us down, and
Mm-hmm.
slowly build that up, so that you're learning to, number one, fuel your body again, and you're learning to love fueling your body again, both end.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of cool. Like I said, like, when like my experience with the Wendy's, right? Like, I ate really strict for a year and a half,
Yeah.
but because I was willing to do that, and I had to do that, how such clear certainty I have about what that fast food stuff is really made of and how it really makes you feel, was very enlightening. And like, listen, I go to In-N-Out, okay? It happens. Like, I still make space in my life for those things, those treats, but like, I don't have any illusion about what it is anymore. I'm not, I'm very clear about what it is, and that the sparseness with which it needs to make up my regular diet.
I love that. And I think that's what our program ultimately is going to help people embrace for themselves, that it's not an always or never. It's not an all or nothing program. Of course, there's room to have food that's entertaining, right? And food that's simply delicious, that's not nutritious. It's just entertaining. Fine, but there's a time and a space. There's a time and a place. The same way we don't sit and go to the movies or go to Broadway shows 24/7, 365. There's a time and a place. First, we work out what is appropriate, how we feeling good, and then we can entertain ourselves a little bit, and each person will be able to gauge that for themselves. And this is the ultimate goal. We'll go through that with people eventually.
Well, awesome. I'm glad everybody got to meet you and hear how brilliant you are about all this stuff, and why we've leaned on you for a decade or more for all of our informational needs. And so there'll be many more blogs and information and videos and all kinds of stuff from McCall through this process. She's going to walk with you just as much as I am. So thank you so much, McCall.
Pete, thank you. Thanks, everybody. I'm really looking forward to seeing everyone in the program and launching this amazing product with you guys.
All right. We'll see you later.
See you soon. Bye.